originally from North Carolina, but I spent my high school career at a boarding school up north. And while I was there, I was placed in this honors English program that paired me with the same professor for my junior and senior years. And immediately, I was just madly in love with him. He was 40 years older than me, but very charismatic, if not a little bit eccentric. And pretty much right away, our relationship became really inappropriate. He would have me over to his house, and we'd talk, you know, about whatever we happened to be reading in class. And once we were reading Lolita, and he had me over, and he asked me, "So if you were Lolita and I were Humbert Humbert, what would you be wearing?" I told him something like off the cuff, like really fast, and he answered with, "Well, would you wear a thong with that?" And this went on for about a year, and in my delusional mind, I thought we actually had this mature relationship where we just like fantasized that we were characters in novels all the time. And I decided that I wanted to take it to the next level, so I needed to express how I felt, and I made a mixtape. It started with Van Halen's Hot for Teacher and just went downhill from there. I wrote all the song titles out in hot pink magic marker, and I deposited this into his mail slot of his home. And I didn't really get much feedback. I sat in class with him for like a week, and he would kind of like grin a little bit, and I was like, wow, you know, I really missed the mark. Like, he must not have liked any of those songs, or like, maybe he didn't know it was for me, I don't know, but whatever it was, I felt like I needed to do something else. Like, I went into this meditative state, and I thought about it for like 2 days. What can I do to make this guy fall in love with me? And I decided, finally, that I needed to photocopy my boobs and present this to him. And at this point, I really didn't have any more friends. They had written me off as crazy, and they thought he was a little bit of a pedophile, and so I didn't tell anybody I was going to do this. I thought of it all by myself, and I found the only photocopier on campus that I knew would not be locked up at night in a classroom. It was in the administration building, and I decided to pick like a random Tuesday night when I thought security would have its guard down, and on that night I waited until midnight, and I got dressed all in black. I was on the track team, so I wore these black track pants and this kind of Patagonia pullover with nothing underneath because I had to be like ready for action, and a toboggan that covered my hair. And at midnight I walked downstairs, and I snuck out the window and made my way like the 200 yards to the administration building and climbed in the window there and found the photocopier, but it had been turned off. And that wasn't really part of my plan because I was expecting to be in and out in like under a minute, and instead I had to like turn it on, wait for it to boot up, and while I was waiting I was just getting more and more nervous, and my heart was racing, and I saw security drive by, and finally this thing was ready to go, and I ripped the Patagonia off over my head and just smashed my boobs onto the glass and hit copy. And what came out was an 8.5 by 11 portrait, which is not what I needed. I need an 8.5 by 11 landscape. And I was just like, fuck, 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 fuck. And I was standing there, and all of a sudden, the lights came on. And I had this Patagonia in one hand and this photocopy of 1.5 of my breasts in the other. And I turned around, and I was face to face with security. This elderly gentleman that looked shocked, and he had a little bit of pity there, and he was very curious, but he didn't move a muscle. And I thought that would be a really good time to just run. So I hurled myself out the window and ran towards the woods. And when I finally got there and realized that security hadn't given chase, I collected myself and put my clothes back on and made it back to my dorm without incident. But I didn't sleep a wink that night, and I kind of waited as the days rolled by and realized that I was probably going to get away with this, because even though it got around campus that somebody had broken in to the administration building and used the photocopier for pornographic reasons, the security guard couldn't actually identify me, at least not by my face. And at the same time, I realized that I had to abort the mission. There was no way I could actually hand this photocopy to my teacher, so I shoved it into my desk, and kind of at the same time shoved this pseudo relationship into the back of my mind, and tried to be normal for the rest of my spring term there. I even went to prom with a guy my own age But then graduation came, and I was packing up my room and came across this photocopy and realized that this would be a good time to give it to my teacher. And I did. I folded it up and wrote a note on it that said, 2 tits for 2 great years, and sealed it off in an envelope with my dignity and handed it over, and didn't really hear much back until a few months later. I was sitting in my dorm room at Carolina and checking my email. It was like December or January, and I had a note from this guy, and it was totally crazy. It was paragraph after paragraph of his fantasies that we were in Italy together, riding on Vespas, and as I read, I got more and more creeped out, and then I got to the last line, and it said, you only gave me 1.5, you owe me, and that is a debt that I have not paid.